Hello, there is a saying, nothing is free in this world and nothing lasts forever. Still, people are crazy about free stuff. People live as if they'll live forever. You can't live even 100 years, but these days, for some reason, that saying sounds like a prophecy about my future. I didn't know it at the time, but later I realized that it's because it fits perfectly in my case. No one dreams of an unhappy future, even vaguely, and people would hope and dream of a better future than now. So did I. I didn't know what future would unfold, but at least I didn't think it was going to be dark or full of dissatisfaction at all. At least until I got married. It was my fault as I had no eye for men, so who can I blame? My father was born out of wedlock. He grew up without any close relatives. His paternal family denied even the existence of my father. His maternal family considered him a disgrace to the family. To make matters worse, even his paternal grandmother left home, taking my dad's money that he saved so diligently while working many jobs for several years, to pay for his tuition. She left a shameless note stating that she was taking his money in exchange for raising him all this time. The year I entered college, my father later found out that his paternal grandmother was having an affair with the owner of a local electronics store. She had skipped town in the middle of the night with him. When one falls in love, it seems even the children are abandoned. Because of that, my father gave up on entering college. The people in the neighborhood even called him a son of a bitch and a heat. He probably felt as if when he wanted to cry, he even got slapped. At that time, there was no one else in the world to lean on. The only one who reached out to my father was my mother. My mom was my dad's elementary school classmate. As childhood friends who were born and raised in the same neighborhood, they knew each other better than anyone else. Although they didn't show it outwardly, the two of them had a crush on each other. So to my mom, my dad's misfortune wouldn't have been considered someone else's business that she could ignore. My mother's family was in business and was quite affluent at the time. They had 2 chauffeurs at home and a maid. My maternal grandfather made good money, but with the money he earned, he did a lot of social work and also donated to orphanages regularly. If there were disadvantaged students, he used to send scholarship money. Thus, my mom told her father about my dad's plight. Thanks to her, my dad was able to enter college with the help of her father. When my dad told him that he would not forget his favor and will definitely repay it, her father just said, "I don't need you to repay me. Don't think about repaying the favor to me. If you make money, help others in need who are like you. If you do that, those friends will later help other people in need. If it continues like that, you and I will also feel more rewarded." Isn't that right? At that time, when my dad saw my mom's father, he thought that he wanted to become a wonderful adult like him. Thus, he thought he should pay him back someday. But that day turned out to be sooner than my dad expected. My maternal grandfather, who boasted that there was no need for my dad to pay him back, suffered a stroke a few years later. In the meantime, his company was targeted by his stepbrothers, who started embezzling company money. His company collapsed overnight. At that time, my father was preparing to return to college after serving in the military. He went to my maternal grandfather's company and revived the company that was in shambles. He went to suppliers and extended the payment due date, visited company customers, and did promotions to increase sales. He did it all. My father gave up on graduating from college and went to work at the company. Thanks to his dedication, the same company that would have collapsed at any moment had regained stability. And sometime later, my grandfather, who had a hard time from the after effects of the stroke he suffered, left a will asking my father to care for his wife and daughter and passed away. To my mother and grandmother who lost head of the household overnight and were thrown into a harsh world, my father became a stronger ally than anyone else in the world. My father married my mother and took charge of running the company in earnest. Afterward, he was able to get the company back to its former grandeur. In addition, he also inquired about my grandfather's stepbrothers who embezzled the company's money, found and made pay for their crime. The stepbrothers' family came to see my father and begged for help, but my dad didn't even flinch. Help should be given to those who need it. Just like you who got richer by stealing other people's property, I'm not giving it. Don't waste your time here. Go back home. Think about how you will live from now on. If you come to see me one more time, then I'm gonna call the police. Do you understand? Following my father's firm words, they didn't come back. My dad, who came from an unfortunate family, took great care of my maternal grandmother, who accepted my dad as if he were her own son. My maternal grandmother was also like that to my dad, always calling him son. Even when she went out, she always held my dad's hand. She held on tightly. Between the two, they were so close to the extent that her daughter, my mom, got jealous. Even when my maternal grandmother passed away, my dad was mourning hard like a child who lost his parents. He would often sneak into my grandmother's room late at night and come out with red eyes. I almost thought that my grandma was his mother in his past life or something. Was it because I grew up seeing my dad like this? I also had a wish to live like my dad and have a great relationship with my in-laws, as if they were my real parents. I went to my in-laws to say hello for the first time. I thought it would happen that way at the time. I had dated my husband for 7 years, and although we haven't been able to meet in person, I sent gifts through my husband during holidays and birthdays. Every time my future mother-in-law called me, saying thank you in a kind voice, even sent a photo taken together holding the gift. She went hiking with her mountaineering club members, wearing the spring jacket I bought for her. She also told me that everyone asked where she bought it and was very envious. Yolanda, I really like you. How can you be my son's girlfriend when you're so perfect? Hey, you guys should never break up. You two should get married so you could become my daughter-in-law. I will take care of you like my own daughter, okay? When I looked around, mothers of my friends' boyfriends complained and acted as if they were already a mother-in-law. They were boasting about having a son. My mother-in-law was the opposite. She would call me sometimes to ask how I was, whether I had eaten yet, or when the day was hot, and concerned if I was exhausted. She took very good care of me. So throughout my relationship with my husband, I felt less pressure about getting married. It was the same when preparing for marriage, as well as after the pre-wedding meeting. She didn't ask for anything out of the ordinary in terms of wedding expenses and gifts. Because my father-in-law is also a decent person, he always had a smile on his face. When my colleagues saw me like this, they were jealous because they had never seen someone like me who found marriage easy. So, your in-laws say you don't need to prepare anything for the wedding. Not even the wedding gifts. Yolanda, you're really lucky. I heard your husband is such a good person too. Your in-laws are like saints. There's such a big difference compared to my in-laws. Wow, I'm jealous. So I got married and became the envy of those around me. After completing the goal, I dreamed of a dreamlike honeymoon. But in reality, it was the opposite. My mother-in-law said she would take care of me like her daughter. And what she said was true. But if I'm that daughter, the question is, what kind of daughter was I to be? What my mother-in-law thought her daughter meant was a Cinderella-like daughter who was treated as a source of livelihood in the 1960s and 1970s. She only said in words, our daughter, but she put all the hard work on me. Meanwhile, to my sister-in-law, her own daughter, she didn't make her do anything. Look, why are you doing the dishes? If you get married, you will have to do a lot. Yolanda, come and do the dishes, daughter, even if I don't tell you about it. You should have come and done it in a flash. Does your mom have to tell you to move? How can she be so shameless? I was speechless. In addition, my father-in-law, who was always quiet, also played a role. Whenever I visited my in-laws, he snuck up on me and showed me a catalog. For example, it was like this. Baby, are these golf shoes good? Are all your friends wearing this? At first, I didn't know what the question meant, so I answered straight away. Then he treated me so coldly that I felt a cold breeze blowing through me. Back home, I told my husband. When I said that, he said it right away. What he's saying is that Dad wants those golf shoes. So what did you say? Did you say you would buy them for him? No, I didn't know. So I just said they looked like good golf shoes. He must have cursed me a lot inside. From that day on, when my father-in-law handed me a catalog or was watching home shopping broadcasts seriously, I would buy it right away. Otherwise, it would create Siberian plains because he would be as harsh as the wind. But it could only happen once or twice. He was so greedy for material things that I couldn't handle it. The salary of an office worker is obvious, but the things were $300 to $400 at least, and many were over $1,000. He had no consideration of our budget, and wanted, without feeling sorry, and just chose whatever he wanted to order. I'm not his ATM, and how could I handle that? I would rather have a mother-in-law who makes me do all the work. Since I couldn't live like that all the time, I told them very politely, "Father, my salary is not high enough to buy you something like this yet. I still have a lot of installments left on the coat I bought for you last time. I'm sorry, but I'll buy this one next time, Father. I'm sorry to say this, but it's actually a bit overwhelming for me. We pay the interest on the mortgage loan with our salary. After paying living expenses, utility bills, and insurance, we don't have much spare money. Every time I try to buy you a gift in a situation like that, I'm always in the negative. So don't be offended and just try to consider our situation." I had a really hard time getting the words out, but my father must have found my words offensive and he got so angry. "Who told you to buy them? If others hear it, they will say, 'It must be an unbelievable bastard who tries to bring my daughter-in-law's bag. If you don't want to buy it for me, you don't have to. But you bought it and brought it here with your own hands. Yet how dare you try to blame it on me? I tried to be nice to you, and here you are, trying to make me out as a fool. I'm not gonna beg you for anything, so take all those that you have bought for me. I don't need them." And then suddenly he went into his bedroom. Even when it was dinner time, he wouldn't come out of his room, so I had to listen to the criticisms from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. With a narrow-minded and cold-hearted father-in-law and a fox-like mother-in-law who pretended to be gentle and manipulative, including my sister-in-law who fanned the fire by aggravating among us, I couldn't even breathe. But that was not all. My sister-in-law had such bad habits. She went in and out of my house, stealing my ring, earrings, and clothes. She even took the underwear I got as a gift from my husband without saying a word, but she insisted that she didn't do it until the end. I really wanted to hit her one good punch at her shameless face. "Kathy, that underwear you're wearing right now, it's mine. How can you lie like that? Yolanda, you are something. I went to a department store myself and bought it with my own money. And aren't there the same underwear everywhere? How dare you accuse me of being a thief? The same underwear is all over. However, that particular brand is not sold here, and they can't be imported, so you can't buy them in any department stores. That one was bought in Spain during our honeymoon, where your brother bought it for me. Are you still going to deny it? I was saving it, and how could you take that? It's not just anything, it's someone else's underwear." Only then did my sister-in-law realize that she was caught red-handed and frowned. Right then, my father-in-law came into my sister-in-law's room and started to shout at me. "How dare you act so mighty over a lousy pair of underwear? So how much is that? I will pay the price of the underwear. Even if your sister-in-law acted immaturely, how could you scold her like that? But then, you're the one who makes a big deal over buying one lousy outfit for your father-in-law, so I'm not that surprised. However, it can be resolved this way." Here he threw a $50 bill at me. I couldn't believe it when that underwear cost over $250, and he just gave it to me. He gave me $50 to buy it. It wasn't just about the price, but as an elder of the family, instead of making things right, it was shocking that he would defend his daughter who was stealing and protect her just because he was angry with me. As a result of this incident, my husband and I had our first fight that night. From then on, I began to distance myself from my in-laws. With my heart no longer there, it was torture to visit their house. This is why so many married women dread going to their in-laws, I thought. Then, after the underwear incident, another event occurred that further strained our already volatile relationship. I was planning to take my parents to Guam to celebrate my father's 70th birthday. When my mother-in-law heard about it, she expressed her desire to join us. She said, "Your parents have done a lot for us, so how can we just let this opportunity pass by? It would be better to go on a trip together, so ask your parents." Despite the distance that can exist between in-laws, it can also bring them closer. So for this happy occasion, we should celebrate together and congratulate him. As they say, the more the merrier. I just hope that your father will live a long life, so don't feel uncomfortable about it. At first, I couldn't understand why she wanted to come with us, but after listening to her reasoning, I didn't think it was a bad idea. Other people may throw a big party for their 70th birthday, but my father declined and preferred a family trip. I thought it would be more enjoyable for him to be surrounded by people his age, rather than just his daughter and son-in-law. When I asked my parents, they happily accepted, and so we ended up traveling to Guam with both sides of the family. With the addition of my in-laws and sister-in-law, our expenses doubled with airfare and hotel costs. I asked my husband what we would do about the increased expenses, and he reassured me, saying, "Don't worry, my mom said that our expenses will be covered by our side. Just pay with your credit card first, and we can reconcile it and get reimbursed by my mom later." I thought this would make it easier to keep track of the expenses, so I agreed. We may have been distant for a while, but because they made an effort to please my father for his birthday and adjusted their schedule for the trip, or perhaps it was because the weather and ocean were fantastic, I felt much better than before. We had a wonderful 4-night, 5-day trip with the whole family. However, as soon as we arrived at the airport, a small problem arose. I had driven my parents with us, while my in-laws took the airport limousine bus that stopped in front of their house. Everyone was tired, but I felt bad just driving my parents while my in-laws took the bus, so I hesitated about what to do. Then, my mother-in-law suggested, "Since we can take the bus from here, why don't you drive your parents home first?" But what should I do? I left my wallet at home, and since we are traveling, I have no cash. If you have any cash, please give me some. I have no money for the bus, so my in-laws took the bus with the $50 I gave for the bus fares. At that time, I was grateful to my mother-in-law. However, people can be fickle. Once we returned from the trip, my mother-in-law wouldn't reimburse me for the money I spent. She kept putting it off for one reason or another, but it seemed that she had no intention of paying me back. Their travel expenses as well as purchases made at Guam shopping malls were all paid for with my card. It was a significant amount, over $10,000, which had a big impact on our budget. My husband acted as if it was not his concern, being nonchalant about his mother eventually paying us back. So I had no choice but to confront the issue. I stopped by my in-laws' house on the way home from work. Just then, they were having dinner. I pressed the doorbell, but they seemed to ignore it. They were eating and talking, but the content of their conversation was shocking. "Mom, didn't Yolanda ask for travel expenses? It wouldn't be a joke with all the stuff we bought at the shopping mall and at a duty-free shop, right? I heard she was already nagging at your brother." But if I was going to give her money, would I have followed them all the way to Guam? I even took time off to go on a free trip to fit her schedule. Would I want to follow and take care of those two old people? I needed to please them so that in the future there will be some benefits for us. If I were her, I would have bought a luxury brand handbag as a gift, but she only bought me a cheap old lipstick. Anyhow, those with money are the worst. I found out for sure this time. Since they have so much money, what's the big deal about paying for our trip expenses? If that old man dies, the inheritance will go to your brother anyway. That woman, who has been raised in a wealthy family, does not know how to spend money properly. Why does she get so worked up over just a few dollars? Isn't that right, honey? That's why I told you. When they were getting married, I told you to get enough money from them for the wedding gifts. You said we should put up with them and wait until that old man dies to get his inheritance. But what have we received from them? Just a pair of cheap shoes and scraps? No matter how much I asked to buy things, what would that amount to? What if I die before that old man? My friends asked me to treat them since I have wealthy in-laws, but I have received nothing. So what money do I have to treat them? It made me so angry. I purposely shoved the catalogs, but she just got upset and caused a scene. I don't know if Scott can handle them. It can't be. Scott told me that when I get married, he will pay for the wedding to be held at the Ritz-Carlton and buy me a luxury brand wedding dress. Why can't you talk to him to sweet-talk Yolanda into having her inheritance distributed earlier? I will be married within 4 or 5 years, But would her parents die before then? This time, when I looked at them, they were healthier than you, Dad, Mom. Isn't there some black magic person? I saw in a drama where they stabbed a straw doll, and the person died after being sick slowly. Couldn't we try something like that? That's just a drama. If there's really such a thing, would this world function properly? People would be dropping dead all over the streets. Honey, our daughter watches too many TV dramas. That's because she's still a child. Anyhow, what should we do if Yolanda comes and asks for the money? I have nothing to argue with her about. Still, as a father-in-law, I don't want to feel awkward over money. Oh, my birthday is coming up. Why did my dad register my birth late so I'm 2 years younger than I actually am? Well then, why don't I have another birthday party? It's my mother-in-law's 60th birthday, so she wouldn't dare to ask me for money then. If we're lucky, maybe her parents will send some presents. That would be good. I felt it was unfair that I didn't have a proper grand party for my 60th birthday, so why not use this occasion to make Yolanda pay for it? Let's see. Where should we have the party? It would be better to have it at a hotel. At that moment, my legs gave in. The reason they had me in their family was because of my dad's money. They didn't seem human to wait for my dad to die so that they could get their hands on his inheritance. I was so furious that I felt like running over to them and grabbing their hair and causing a scene. But if I did that now, I couldn't have any revenge, and I would be the one to suffer. So I just left, feeling frustrated and helpless. My in-laws weren't poor, yet they were blinded by money and gave up their humanity. When I thought of all the efforts I put in trying to please them, I felt as if my blood were boiling inside me. From that day on, I started planning my revenge and how I could crush them. But as if heaven was trying to help me, the date of revenge came faster than I expected. It was my mother-in-law's 60th birthday party. She called me early and told me that her birthday was coming up, and gave me a few places to choose from where she wanted to hold her party. She also told me what gifts to buy for her guests and asked me to prepare them in advance. I bought everything she asked for and any additional requests made by her daughter, who sent them to me via email. I used my husband's credit card to pay for everything. Honey, how much did all of this cost? And your credit card limit is higher than mine. But why did you use my card? I used my card to pay for your family's travel expenses, so I didn't have much left. When I get the money from your mom for the Guam trip, I will pay you. Then I saw my husband's face slightly change. It was obvious that he knew his mom wouldn't be paying us back. Honey, for those expenses that haven't been paid yet, why don't you use your own card? I have to use mine for some things this month. You have a lot more cards, so why not use one of yours? If not, why don't you borrow money from your mom? Tell her that we will pay her back when my mom reimburses us for the Guam trip. It seems like he's just like his family, always doing the same thing. So I said okay. On the day of the birthday party, when it was at its peak, my husband called me angrily. The problem was, he received a bunch of messages on his phone saying that a large sum of money was charged to his credit card. I told you not to use my card. How much is all of this? And on top of that, did you take out a loan against the credit card? But what could I do? The hotel required immediate payment, and if I paid with cash, they would give a big discount. So I had to take out a loan against the credit card. Your mom will soon pay us, so we can use that money to pay off the credit card. How do you know when she will pay us? That's why I suggested borrowing money from your mom. Do you know what the interest rate is on a loan against a credit card? How could you be so thoughtless? Don't you realize that paying high interest is such a waste? I do think it's a big waste, but I had no other choice. When I used my own credit card, you didn't say anything. But when I used yours, suddenly it's a problem? And it's your mom's 60th birthday, so why are you asking me to get money from my mom? Have you thought about how we will pay this money back? Do you even know how much this party costs? You should have taken care of it with your own money, but could you handle it? You never intended to pay for it in the first place. That's why you asked me to borrow money from my mom, didn't you? Just like how you dumped your family's travel expenses on me. And now do you want to do the same to my mom? What a greedy and selfish person you are. It's not just you, but your whole family. Did you want my dad's money that badly? How could you all wish for my dad to die early and scheme all this? When I screamed in anger, the whole party suddenly became quiet, as if someone had poured cold water on it. Right then, my mother-in-law ran over to me and pinched my arm. Are you crazy? What are you doing? We have guests here, and you're having a fight with your husband in front of everyone? How could you ruin your mother-in-law's birthday party like this? Stop it right now. I can't do that. Is this party just a ploy to extort money from your daughter-in-law? Your daughter-in-law? Why should you do that even? It's not a life that you have done very well to live, so what use is it to have a party? Are you blinded by coveting other people's money and gifts? You have the party at your daughter-in-law's expense, yet you get the money from the guests to be put into your greedy pockets. But how is this? This whole party has been paid for by your son's credit card. And get this, I handed her a white envelope. When my mother-in-law saw a thick envelope, she thought it was an envelope of money, and her face brightened instantly. If you have prepared this, you should have given it to me quietly. Why are you giving it to me in front of people so openly? Anyway, thank you. But why is it so light? She opened the envelope. Should I have made it heavier? It is an invoice itemized on Excel neatly on your Guam trip expenses, including your shopping list. Since you won't pay me back, I made it to file a lawsuit against you, and I think you need one for your copy. And in the future, you don't need to pray for my dad's early death, because I'm gonna get divorced from your son. And just in case you won't pay back the money you owe, I will be attaching it to your pay when I get divorced. My money is very precious to me too. Oh, since this party has been paid for by your son, you can enjoy it to the fullest. I hope you will live long until you smear your feces on the wall. Oh, by the way, Kathy, shortly you will have to go to the police station and be investigated. I have reported you for theft. All my rings, necklaces, and even my underwear were stolen by you. I have taken a photo of the scene of the crime and submitted it to the police. So don't even think to deny your crime, and you had better confess. Oh, there will be no leniency. You should pay for your crimes. Have a good day. That's how I got divorced. A few days later, my ex-mother-in-law called to say that she would wire me money for the Guam trip, but asked for leniency on her daughter's criminal charges. I flatly refused. I couldn't forget when she said that she would stab a knife into a straddle to wish my dad dead. That I couldn't ever forgive her. My ex-husband complained vehemently that the interest rate on his credit card for payments made for his mother's birthday party was exorbitant. Not only that, his pay got attached at work, so rumors spread at his work, and he was facing great shame at work. While I got divorced, I was able to take revenge, but to my parents, I'm just a foolish daughter. I only showed an embarrassing side of me. I plan to do my best to make my parents happy, and repent for my past and try to improve my judgment on people. Thank you for listening to my story. Be wary of people, and I hope you will always surround yourself with good people. Please support me and share your wise comments in the comments section. Pressing like and subscribe is a big help to me. Take care.